Hey peeps, in today's video we'll be engraving slate with a diode, CO2, and fiber laser engraver. Additionally, we'll try deep engraving on slate with our MOPA fiber laser. All of the tests we do will hopefully show you what results you can achieve with engraving slate on different types of lasers and which laser you should use to engrave this unique material for your situation.
So this is the slate that we're going to be using, just some, it looks like 4x4 coasters. We'll go ahead and open these up.
If you're interested in any of the laser engravers we use today, we'll have details, discount codes, and links to them in the description.
I'm just measuring the usable flat surface of this. We're going to start here on our longer Nano Pro diode laser.
Now that we're in LightBurn, we'll connect our machine to the software. Next, we want to go to Laser Tools and Material Tests so that we can set up our first material test to engrave with our diode laser. Since this is a test and we haven't engraved slate in the past, we're going to just input our best guess for a range of settings we think will achieve good results. For our first param, we'll do a speed that goes from 100 millimeters per minute to 8,000 millimeters per minute. As for our second param, we'll do a power that ranges from using 20 to 100% of our laser's power. Next, we're going to edit the text setting to what we think will engrave out the text on the material test properly. We're going to disable the border since we don't really think it's necessary for this test. Also, we'll go ahead and label this test to the laser we're using. Finally, we can frame this out with our material.
So it looks like our material test is a little too big for this slate piece. I'm going to have to decrease the size of our test boxes.
After adjusting the size of this test, we also remembered we need to change the mode of our material test for engraving boxes that are filled in.
With our current settings, this is going to take about an hour. Let's go wash this off. Just going to spray it off with some water and a microfiber rag. All right, so here is our results of our materials test using our longer Nano Pro. Really interesting results here. We have a good gradient, which that's good to see. And then you can see how it kind of turns from a matte here. And then as we slow down the laser and increase power, we get kind of a glassification effect. I don't even know if that's real, but it kind of melts the slate into a shiny type. Now, you can see here there's an issue. Got a little bit of the test on the last box, but the computer fell asleep. So we'll just have to, wake it up occasionally throughout future materials tests. But really interesting results on this last line where we slowed it down to really slow speeds, 100 millimeters per minute, really shiny and kind of melted kind of effect. But that's our results for a diode laser. All right, time for our second test using our CO2 laser. We're going to be using our OMTech Polar Plus 55 watt.
Once again, we're in LightBurn, and it's time to set up a material test for our CO2 laser. The first thing we're going to do is select the CO2 engraving test preset. Similar to our material test settings using the diode laser, we're just guessing ranges of settings to use. For the speed param, we'll end up doing 50 millimeters per second to 500 millimeters per second, and for the power param, we'll do 20 to 70%. It's important to note with CO2 lasers, you never want to actually engrave at 100% power.
Okay, so here's a result from our CO2 laser side by side with our diode laser. You can see that there's less variation compared to the diode laser. That may just be because of our settings. The lowest power that we can really go to and fire our CO2 laser is 17%, and we started this off at 20. So we're getting pretty decent results here, even at our fastest speed of 500 millimeters per second. But you can see the same kind of graduated response here from a kind of like white-ish to the yellowing, and then the same kind of weird like melting. This is actually raised now. It's not a very nice surface, so this is way too slow, I would say, for slate. It's actually like melting and kind of, I don't know, making kind of a weird like raised texture that I don't like. But certainly some good settings in here that we can use. Now, I'll also say that this was much faster than our diode laser to complete. This one took 13 minutes and this one took 55. So now let's move on over to our fiber laser and see what kind of results we can get with that. So for our first test with our fiber laser, we're just going to use the power and speed for our X and Y test.
We're going to do a speed param of 100 to 1000 millimeters per second and a power param of 10 to 100%. Next, we're going to edit the material setting for this test. First of all, we want the mode to be a fill, and then we also want to change the number of passes to 1. Then we'll adjust settings for the text that engraves on the sides of the test.
clean this up. Okay, so here's our fiber laser results. Obviously a little bit lighter with the settings that we have here, but you could see it starts in this last row to get the same kind of texture, I would say, that we're getting here on our CO2 laser. Now what's great about fiber lasers is we can actually do some settings updates to engrave a little bit deeper into this material. So let's do a second materials test with our fiber laser. Now I will say you saw how exponentially faster this was to engrave than even the CO2 laser, but certainly much faster than the diode laser, which was to be expected. Now when we do our updates for more depth, we will see we're going to have a little bit longer engraving time.
In order to test deep engraving on slate with our fiber laser, we're going to start by changing the speed param to a passes param. The next thing we're going to do is edit our material setting. We're going to change our line interval to 0.025 millimeters, enable crosshatch, do a 45-degree scan angle, and increase the maximum travel speed to 250 millimeters per second. We'll also go ahead and edit the settings for our text. Now it's time to frame out our final test.
Took an hour. It's deep. Let's go rinse it off. Okay, so here is our depth test. So we do have some depth. You can feel the ridges of the grid lines, and then we have kind of a gradient here. You could see that we're getting these kind of glass-like globs. Obviously our highest power and highest number of passes. So that's not wet at all. That's just kind of how it looks. Kind of like what we see over here on the CO2 as well as on our diode. So there is definitely a max temperature that these things can get to before it kind of turns into glass like. But we do have some good settings for depth, and obviously for any kind of real depth that we want to go even deeper, we just increase the number of passes and we can go a little bit deeper into this. Okay, so here's our results using the exact same design in 3 different machines, and with our fiber laser, 2 different styles of marking engraving. We'll start here with the longer diode laser. So using a diode laser, you actually can engrave slate pretty nicely. So we chose the best settings from our materials test, and we have pretty good results here. A lot of details, certainly the same amount of detail as we got with our CO2 machine. Now, what I'll say, moving on to our CO2 machine, which was great about it, a huge pro, is how quick this was. This only took about 5.5 minutes to complete, and we have the exact same amount of detail that came in our diode laser, but this took about 33 minutes, I believe. So much faster. This one wins for the fastest engraving. Moving on to our fiber laser, we did a light marking here, but what we noticed right away is how much more detail we got with the exact same design. You can see very intricate detail that you can see in this one that you cannot see in both the CO2 and the diode laser. So we definitely like the results here. If you want really, really intricate designs, the fiber laser is certainly the way to go. And that's kind of why we chose this particular design, because there was finer detail the further in that you go. So that's really neat, and we definitely like this result. Now this took about 12.5 minutes to complete, so not as long as our diode laser, but not as fast as our CO2 laser. And then finally, we did a deep engraving using our fiber laser. So we actually cut material away using different settings in our fiber laser, and we got fantastic and different results here. Certainly the most unique of all of these put together is this one, because there's actual depth. You can feel the texture of removed material here. And we got the same amount of detail that we got in our light engraving here with the fiber laser. So again, using the best results from our materials test, we were able to kind of pick the best results here. Now the con here with this deep engraving is this took about 1 hour and 15 minutes to complete, which was more than all of these put together, but we do have some different and unique results. So that's really cool. Personally, I think this is my favorite, simply because the rest of these, well, maybe not this one, but these certainly look like you could have put, you know, a template on there and spray painted it on. Now I'm not concerned with, you know, this rubbing off or anything. It's actually engraved, so I wouldn't worry about durability with these. But we know for a fact there's no way this is going to rub off, because the depth here on our engraving with just 20 passes is about 0.3 millimeters deep, so you can certainly feel it with your fingernail as you drag it across there. So really cool results there. Now overall, I'm going to say great results using all of these different lasers, using the different capabilities that these lasers will do. If you wanted to pop out a quick 4, I would go with this one. If you wanted more detail, I would go with either of these, depending on how much time that you have. And if you only have a diode laser, it's pretty neat that you can actually do this material with it. Now slate is a really cool material. Well, first of all, the fact that you can engrave on it is really neat. You can get really good contrast in engraving, and you don't have to worry about any kind of smoke damage like you would on wood or anything like that. Really easy material to work with. So overall, I think we like using slate. Pretty neat.
Once again, if you're interested in purchasing any of the laser engravers we used in this video, we'll have the links, details, and discounts in the description for them. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it.